Hello and welcome to Culture Shark, a live stream about all things pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today we are continuing our bone journey. There's still not a great way to say we're talking about the Bone comic book by Jeff Smith. So this is be part two. If you've never read Bone, we highly recommend it. You can get it at almost any public library.
I've been
Fan-
really enjoying this.
oh, it's great. Yeah.
I do think it's funny that it's called Bone, and we can't figure out a way to talk about it, and yet it's published by Scholastic.
Right.
It's one of those things that, like, okay, so getting a little personal here. There's been some convictions in me that, and I'm still young enough that I can pivot career wise.
Mhm.
Um, I've been seriously considering going into teaching elementary school because in my area they are in dire need of male teachers, um, and I'm thinking about, like, books and whatnot that, like, you stock up in the classroom, and I'm like, this would be perfect, but it's called Bone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if a lot of that is we're older. We have dirty minds. We know the
I,
innuendos, and kids, for the most part, I would say wouldn't. But then they are exposed to the internet, so they are hearing stuff
there
way beyond their age
when
than
I,
we
when
were.
when I was a kid, there was, I had, like, first, second, and third grade. I had, some of the same classmates in all three. Sometimes I'd get new classmates in some of those classes. There was always at least one classmate that I had that, like, taught me the F word or something.
Yeah, you always had those, like, you're in second, third grade. You always had those one kids that were watching R-rated movies and
Yeah.
telling everybody about everything they saw. I saw
Hmm.
Freddy Krueger do this. That. Yeah. So yeah, that's quite common. So let's
Hmm.
get to our weekend update. Caleb, how you doing?
Good, good. Guess what I have been playing all week? Marvel versus Capcom.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, it's so good. Cameron and I have been playing it nonstop. Um, I encourage everyone to, because this isn't really something that I could do a review about myself, just because most of my reviews are more analytical as far as, like, storytelling. Um, so as far as, like, the technical side of it, I encourage everyone to go take a look at Maximilian's review of it. Very in depth. He actually talks about the museum. The museum mode with, like, all the artwork, and it actually has, like, concept art and um, stills and ideas for certain characters. So, like, there was one point where apparently Doctor Doom had Cable's hyper viper beam, and you could waggle the stick and make it go everywhere, like you can do for Cable. They didn't end up going it, and they gave it to Cable. But it's stuff like that I wouldn't have even noticed. So I definitely encourage everyone to check out Max's opinions on it. Myself, I mean, I'm just having a ton of fun, not just with Marvel vs. Capcom, but pretty much all of the games. Because some of these games, like the actual Marvel vs. Capcom games, I have plenty of experience with. But something like X-Men: Children of the Atom or Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter, I don't have as much experience with them because they're honestly less than popular. Um, but yeah, even if you're a Marvel guy, I recommend it. If you're a fighting game guy, I recommend it. Capcom, I recommend it. Honestly, even if you're not any of those things, I mean, this is like eight rare gems for $50. Like, I mean, you can't beat these prices. Like, this
My
is.
my wife is not a gamer, but she likes to play these when we go to free play and play as Rogue or
Mhm.
Gambit and stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, fun stuff.
And what about that's really it for me. What about yourself?
So I actually watched a bunch of stuff last week.
Okay.
Starting off with a movie that a lot of people in my men's group at church have been begging me to watch for years and years and years. So I finally watched Tombstone.
Oh, you never seen Tombstone?
I had never seen Tombstone.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, it was really good. You know, I don't know if it's as great as everybody said it was. I'm not a big Western guy for first off, but I thought it was good. And it's one of those movies that gets hyped to the heavens, so your expectations get really high, and then you actually see it, you're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, yeah, it was good. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I might check out some more westerns. We'll see.
I
Um,
got I got a list for you. Like most people don't know this about me, but I kung fu cop movies and westerns. I love them. So I got plenty for you.
I did see that Netflix has it says docu series. I don't know if it's like reenactments or document or something. It's called like the Earp and the Cowboy Wars or something. It's like a 6 episode series.
I think they
So
do. I think in that one it's a documentary, but they do some reenactment as well.
yeah, so I might check that out.
Yeah,
So
the whole OK Corral, Wyatt Earp, and um, all that. I'm a big fan. There's actually one. So Tombstone is the better movie, but there's actually another one that came out around the same time. That's kind of closer to the actual story. It's called. I think it's just called Wyatt Earp or just Wyatt. Kevin Costner plays Wyatt Earp in that
yeah,
one, and
yeah,
it's more of a. It's
closer
less
to
yeah, like Tombstone is like so dramatized, and that's why it's awesome.
it's like a
Because,
popcorn action movie. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And Val Kilmer is the best, and
Oh yeah, yeah. And it had like everybody in the movie. Like every
I
time I was
know
like, oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. Yeah, it was just constant. So
that was the
that
first movie. That was the first movie I saw Michael Biehn in.
Yeah, yeah. So, secondly, I finished Terminator Zero.
I still haven't watched it.
It's really good.
Okay.
Like, I kind of hope they get a second season. I mean, it has an ending, but it's also kind of like, what happens next? It kind of open
That
ended.
that is every Terminator thing. Every Terminator thing has an ending, and it's like, oh, well, maybe.
It's very Terminator, but also it's kind of a unique take
Okay.
on it. There's a lot of Terminator tropes. Kids are in danger, and the Terminator's trying to kill them, and there's a human protecting them. Blah blah blah. But there's some new stuff too mixed in.
If you don't have to say anything if this spoils it. Because I know sometimes a question like this can lead to spoilers. Um, what does it count, and where does it take place?
Like timeline wise,
Yeah, yeah. Like, are they ignoring everything except
this
for the first two? Or
this is 19. I mean, there's some time travel, jumping around stuff in the
obviously,
future
yeah.
stuff. Largely takes place in 1997 by a guy who is having dreams about Judgment Day, and it's going to happen within days, and he is trying to stop it. And so he has 3 children, and they are being targeted by the Terminator to use them as they can't get to the guys. They're trying to get to him through the kids. Like, if we take your kids hostage, you will do what we want. That sort of thing.
Okay.
Um,
Do they use as far as the Terminators? Do they use the likeness of Arnie, or is it
no, there's really no. I mean, there might be like some, like if you're really hardcore into the lore, there might be something you notice, but I didn't really see any Easter eggs at all to the
okay?
Terminator series, which is great because it's kind of its own thing. And we asked where it takes place, and I really don't know how to answer that because that's kind of a debate that comes up within the show
Okay.
about time travel and how does it affect the time stream and stuff.
So like this, there is a possibility that this is in its own pocket universe, and Terminator One didn't even happen.
Yes, or this is the
Or
same timeline,
it's right.
or it's the exact same timeline, or it doesn't matter how much you try to change the past, the future is always going to happen. That sort of thing.
Oh man. So let me know this because I do have to. We're gonna put up spoiler tags for Terminator Zero.
Mhm.
because this is one thing that I need to know before going into it, because this is one of the things that I have always hated about Terminator 3. And Terminator 3 is on my Letterboxd at a 0.5%, at a point 0.5 out of 5 stars, which in my Letterboxd is called personally insulting, because there is an irrational reason why I hate it. um, so uh, that being that Terminator 2 is one of my favorite films of all time, and it is one of the most optimistic films I've ever seen, and there's no fate but what we make for ourselves. Um, and then Terminator 3 comes in and says, oh, it actually doesn't matter, because no matter what you do, Judgment Day will always happen. Um, and I actually hate Terminator 3 for going against Terminator 2 like that. Is there optimism in this?
Things go really bad, really,
Okay.
really bad. But at the end, there's kind of hope with these
Right.
kids. Like they are the future. There's a chance that they can, you know, make things better.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to watch it. And,
It's
you said,
great. Is I mean, it is violent as heck, and I guess if you're like, I didn't say there's any Easter eggs. There's lots of tropes. Like there's scenes at a police station. Stuff that
hmm,
we've seen in Terminator movies before.
I'm Come With Me If You Want to Live is most certainly in there, probably.
Trying, yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember. But it's great. It is.
Okay.
I really liked it. I mean, it is set in Japan, so there's some Japanese anime stuff in there. But
Oh,
I
that
think
is
it's,
interesting.
yeah. So like I said, it's different than what you're used to.
So for that, I mean, we look at I've actually got our show notes and Google Doc pulled up that we sometimes use.
Yeah.
I know you said that you wanted to do like a Terminator show, kind of like a franchise overview and looking at like the bad sequels. That's actually already on here. So
Okay.
uh,
Yeah. And then we'll. This is how you continue the Terminator story correctly. This is the right
right.
way to do it,
Hmm.
and it's a really fresh take on it. I think the Terminator is really cool. I mean, it's just a T-800, but it's really cool the stuff he does, and yeah, it's really neat.
Okay. Dope, dope. Well,
Uh,
I'm excited to start. Oh,
and then
I just look at the episode names. That's amazing. Model 101, Model 1. And so if you get a season 2, then it's Model 201. Oh, that's great. I love that.
yeah, and I think it's all written by like one guy, so it's good. It's one
Uh,
writer or like
Matt's showrunner, develops, written by Mattson Tomlin. Who is this? I've never heard of him.
he. I can't remember what he wrote. There's something famous he's written. When you go, oh, it's that guy.
Uh, Project Power with Jamie Foxx.
No.
He did. Well, it says he did that. He was brought on board to assist with the Batman, which we'll talk about next week. Um, oh, he wrote Batman the Imposter. Oh, okay, okay. I love that. That's an Elseworld story from DC Black Label. It is 3 issues. It is phenomenal. Okay, I get it. I love this guy. um,
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but yeah. So he's done Berserker or something, and
Berserker is oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So so Berserker he co-wrote with Keanu Reeves. I remember that.
oh, okay, it's that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 You sold me on this. Perfect.
yeah. Okay, so lastly for weekend checkup, I've been sick all weekend, so this may affect my review of the movie, but I did see Beetlejuice yesterday.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of Beetlejuice, huge fan of the cartoon. I I'm going to get on a curve because I was sick, so I'm probably judging it more harshly than I normally would. It's probably a 3 out of 5. I want to give it a 2.5 out of 5. Uh, it,
I-
it,
is it more insulting to the original source material, or is it just rehash member berries?
there's too many plot lines going on. Like you could cut a whole plot line and the movie would be better.
Okay. Is it a specific one or just any of them?
Well, I mean, it would get into spoilers, but I think in the picture or the picture in the trailer, you've seen like this girl that's like stapled together. You could drop her whole plot line, and I don't know if it would affect the movie at all.
Um, was that Monica
Whatever.
Bellucci's character? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she's hardly in the movie to begin with, but she's like, there's like a plot going on in the living world and a plot going on in the ghost world, and she's like the plot in the ghost world. And like, so if you cut that, I mean, you probably have to cut, oh, what's his name, Defoe's character also from the movie because they're tied together. But
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like the first Beetlejuice movie, you had characters you liked in it, Barbara and Adam, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, and it's kind of their story, the first Beetlejuice movie. And
Hmm.
there's not anybody really to grab onto in this one that you're like, oh, I really like these characters, and it's a lot of, hey, you remember we did this funny thing in Beetlejuice? We're doing it again, and it's like, okay. Oh, we're doing a wedding again. Okay, yeah, we did that in the first movie. Oh, we're doing sandworms again. Yeah, we did it in the first movie. Oh, shrunken heads. Yeah, we did it in the first movie. Oh, people are gonna lip sync to a song and dance because they're possessed. Yeah, we did that in the first movie.
Is it
But
is it is it the same song or is it like a modern song?
so there is a funeral at the beginning where they sing the same song, but like as a funeral song, which is kind of funny. And then there's a, it's not a, I wouldn't say modern song, but it's a classic song that they sing at the end. And but then there's moments where they do new stuff, and I like the new stuff they did. You know, um, as I said, Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, they get very briefly mentioned in the movie, and it's like, oh, I want more of that story. What happened there? And they don't really tell you. The other thing is, what is his name? It was on the tip of my tongue. The guy from Ferris Bueller, the principal, um,
Oh,
Jeffrey something.
I know who you're talking about. Like you mess with the bowl, you get the horns.
Yeah,
No, wait, no, that's Breakfast Club. Wait, what movie did you say?
Ferris Bueller.
Oh,
Jeffrey Jones is his name. Uh, he's in a lot of 80s, 90s movies. He got canceled for bad stuff in early 2000s. We can't say on the show.
which here's the thing with how creepy his character is in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's like, oh man, maybe that wasn't acting.
Yeah, so he's the actor is not in the movie, but his character kind of is in the movie, if that makes sense. Um, and it was just kind of like, ugh, I like that character. There's better ways you could have done that. I understand why they did it, but I'm also kind of like, just bring the actor back at this point. But it's also like if you brought him back and Alec Baldwin back, do you have two canceled people back in
Yeah,
this movie? And now you're like, okay. So I don't know. The movie's just kind of a mess. Michael Keaton's great in it, of course, but and Jennifer, what's her name? Jennifer Ortega or whatever her name is.
Jenna Ortega.
Yeah, she's good, and Winona Ryder's okay in it. There's a character, her fiance in the movie is very annoying, and you just want to slap him every time he's on camera, which I think is the point. But it's also like, just and you can't figure out why she likes him, and it's just a real slimeball character, and so you know,
I'm
yay
gonna
Beetlejuice.
I'm gonna have to find I'm gonna have to find the like a recording
Hmm.
of the musical and send it to you guys because I think you guys really like it.
So one of my friend's fiance saw it, and he said, "Yeah, just go see the Beetlejuice musical instead." So, yeah,
It's phenomenal. Like it at this. It's not the greatest musical I've ever seen because I've seen Hamilton, but it is. Hamilton is not my bag.
Hmm.
Beetlejuice is my bag.
Yeah, yeah. They do go into Beetlejuice's backstory, which is interesting. You do find out where he came from and everything, so that's kind of interesting. But it's also kind of like it's kind of it's like I told my wife. I was like, the sequel doesn't need to exist. It's neat that it does exist, but it's like I didn't. The first one was fine, and there was no need for a follow up. You know.
Now here's the I want you to think about how you feel about this, and then perhaps you'll find an understanding of how I feel about the Ghostbusters franchise.
No, I literally thought about on the way home. I was like, is this how I feel about Frozen Empire? Like, it doesn't need to exist. But I do want more adventures with those characters. Yeah, I'm torn. I get it.
Yeah.
It's the kind of the same feeling. Yeah. Um, I still don't fully understand how the ghost world works.
S-
Like,
So I don't know how they explain the ghost because I still technically haven't seen um
so
the first one.
we rewatched the first one Friday night, and they tell them that they are stuck on Earth for 125 years as ghosts or something weird. There's some comment she makes. But in this one, there's also like a train to heaven and hell, and I'm like, well, what makes you get on the train, and what makes you stuck on Earth? I couldn't
Oh yeah.
figure out what.
So it sounds like the musical does it the best then because they're they're not technically stuck on Earth. They just don't want to go to the ghost world. Cause
Okay, but so here, yeah, because in the movie, there's other characters that die that instantly go on the train to go to heaven and hell, and I'm like, wait, why aren't they staying? And why? Yeah, it's like the more they show, the more questions I started having. The more I was like, they don't have this figured out. And there's it's a spoilery plot point. So spoilers for Beetlejuice. There's something where someone's soul gets switched with from a dead person to a live person, and then they just undo it real quick. And you're like, wait, how to make it happy? You had to say the spell, and now it's just undone because he stamped a book or something saying denied. And I was like, what? So this movie's making a lot of money. Tim Burton said it's gonna be the last one because he'd be 100 and something when he does the third one. But that if it makes this much money and Warner Brothers is like, we want a third one, I could see a third one coming out real soon. So I don't know.
you know what'd be interesting is
Oh, and
if
the ending makes the ending is so confusing. They spoilers again. There's these crazy dream sequences, and then it's just Winona waking up in bed, and you're like, wait, so what happened? And you don't know. It's just like, ah. um, yeah, we'll do a Beetlejuice episode in
yeah.
October, and we'll get into some deep spoilers and my frustrations with this movie.
Um, let's say that they decide to do a third one. Perhaps they give it to someone else.
Well,
Uh,
Tim Burton's fine. They just need a better script. The Smallville guys wrote this script.
oh no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like let's say that he doesn't want to do it.
Oh,
Uh, yeah. So I'm trying to think of like
I mean, it'd have to
who
be someone like Lord and Miller that it could be that creative. I can't think of any
who
other
is weird.
directors.
I'm trying to think like who is like a weird modern director.
We should find some Blumhouse guy that's weird, or Del Toro maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. How he would? You know what? He wouldn't make it funny though.
Right, right, right. So I know what the third one could. I know what the third one plot could be. Where this one ends, I could make a plot, but we'll talk about that when we do the Beetlejuice show. So uh, yeah, so cautious or kind of a thumbs up for Beetlejuice, but kind of thumbs down. I don't know what I think of this movie.
Okay. I just googled like who has a directorial style like Tim Burton.
Hmm.
This is an interesting one because I know I think you like this director, and I he is not an immediate he's a weird director, but it someone said Wes Anderson, uh,
Yeah, I could see that, but I
but
don't
like
know.
it wouldn't be like almost like a Beetlejuice with better lighting.
Yeah, I mean, I like I'm trying to think set wise. I could see it. I would probably get Henry Selick. He's the guy that directed Coraline,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so it's maybe someone like that.
You know what's
Um,
hilarious is I always forget that like and it's a constant recurring thing that Tim Burton didn't direct Coraline, even though I constantly think he did.
a lot of people think that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those. I wouldn't call it a Mandela effect, but it's a common misconception. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was listening to shoot, I can't think of his name. Vine Sauce talk about Beetlejuice, and he's like, I don't know if I'll ever see it again, but I'm glad I saw it. Is how he described Beetlejuice. So I think that's a fair review. It's the scenery is there's some really interesting scenes in it. You know, um,
Yeah.
so
Honestly, I think that if I'm being completely honest, I think that that kind of review is really the most you can hope for when it comes to movies these days because at this point there are so many that like if I watch something again, it better be good. Like for the most part, I watch a lot of movies and I'm like, I probably never watch that again, but I liked
yeah,
it. I'm glad I saw
yeah. And then there's other movies like Fifth Element. Anytime it's on, I'm watching it. I don't know why I'm watching it, but I'm watching it. Um, yeah, I get it. And one more,
that's
just
that's
one
probably
more.
how what that's probably how I felt about Barbie is I'll never watch it again, but I'm glad I watched
Sure, yeah. That's how I felt about Titanic. I watched it once. I was like, I'm good.
it.
Uh, you know, it was I thought it was a good movie. I don't need to see it again. Um, this was not on the docket. I'm just gonna throw it out there as something I've been meaning to ask you about. Have you been
Mhm.
watching the trailers for Megalopolis? And what are your thoughts?
I haven't. That's one that I am really interested in seeing just because it. Essentially I've not seen a single trailer of it. Um, but that's almost intentional because I initially just read about the fact that Francis Ford Coppola is making it. Um, and so I almost want to go in like not necessarily blind, but like I want to. I just want to like have no like preconceived notions about it. Like whenever you say like what are my thoughts? What do you mean by that? And don't. I know I just said that I want to go into it blind. Say whatever you want to say. I don't care.
Every time I watch a trailer, I'm either like, "Oh, this is going to be amazing," or "This is a train wreck." I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the trailers. Something about the evolution, the next step of mankind. I don't.
Oh,
I
I
don't.
love X-Men.
No, I mean not like that. Like I don't know. I'm very curious. It has a really interesting cast. Um,
It's like Atlas
so
Shrugged or something.
I've never seen Atlas Shrugged, but
Oh, okay.
uh, yeah, that kind of sounds like an app comparison though. What little I know about Atlas Shrugged, I I kind of think I want to force you to go see it, and I'll go see this, and we do a show about it. But I don't know.
Sure.
I haven't.
Like
I'm
like
not
I
there
said,
yet.
it was like I said, it's been on my radar. So I mean, honestly, like maybe I don't know if I'd go see it, but I'll definitely see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe let's do this. Let's wait till it comes to streaming, and then we'll do a show
Okay,
about it.
dope.
Uh, one last topic. Transformers One is getting really good reviews, so we'll keep that on our
So
radar also. So
so question because all of the positive reviews that I'm seeing um are like people that like were invited to go see it.
Right.
and those have not shown to be reliable.
Right. Well, I'm still cautiously optimistic. I have seen some people who run like Transformer YouTube channels and stuff who say it's good. So I don't know. It's like fans are seeing it and saying it's good, but we'll wait and see. I need, yeah, I need actual people to go see it because I heard a lot of people say Beetlejuice was great, and then I was like, so. Uh, all right, let's get to the main topic. We are talking about Bone by Jeff Smith. A few weeks ago, we talked about part one, which was the first three graphic novels. So, what is this saga called?
Solstice.
Solstice. Okay, so this is covers Dragon Slayer, uh, Rockjaw, Master of the Eastern Border, and I think Old Man's Cave.
Yes.
That sounds right. So we're gonna go over the three volumes. This, it's probably got my least favorite book in the series in this group. But then it follows up with a really strong volume. So
I think I'll go ahead and let this be known. Overall, I think this set of three books, I don't think it's as good as the initial set of three books.
I agree.
Um, but I'm also the weirdo that likes Fellowship more than Two Towers. So
I would agree with that also.
okay,
So
I don't know. Which bodes well for so the third saga is called Harvest. Bodes well for Harvest because Return of the King is the best of the three. So
right. So let's talk about this in the three sets of books. So Dragon Slayer, where we left things off, the townspeople wanted to tar and egg Phony because of the Great Cow Race incident. And so now he has a bet with Lucius that he can sell more drinks at the bar. And I think if he wins, they'll pay off the tab or something. He doesn't have to work for Lucius anymore.
you know what? Just even describing this book out of context is hilarious. The townspeople are wanting to get Phony because of the Great Cow Race, and so then he bets Lucius that he can sell more drinks.
So he really starts playing up the dragon, that he's a dragon slayer, that he can kill the dragon. So all the townspeople are like, they want to hear more about this dragon because they're scared of the dragon. When in fact, the dragons are good guys. And Lucius keeps trying to tell them. Well, Lucius keeps acting like the dragons don't exist, even though he knows they exist. And so Phony is, getting all the cells and stuff because he's really playing it up. Meanwhile, Phone Bone, Grandma, and Thorn have a confrontation with King Doc, the king of the rat creatures. And it's kind of a brutal fight. And Thorn chops off King Doc's arm.
For kids.
For kids. And which I can't remember, I think, yeah, it's this book where the two stupid rat creatures try to cover him with leaves and stuff. They're like,
Yeah.
I think he's dead. They just leave. It's really funny though. Those are my two favorite characters. It's the two stupid rat creatures. They are really funny.
It's actually so. I would say that the first set of three is probably like more kids. We're probably getting into YA with this set.
Yes, it does, and it gets even darker in the next set of books.
Yeah, which I think is good because like you have stuff that whenever you're a kid and you're reading it, but you're not the same person that you were whenever you started reading it.
Yeah.
And so as you mature, so does the things you're reading. That's the one thing that even though I think that the latter half of Harry Potter is not as good as the first half of Harry Potter, the series, that's kind of the thing is I graduated whenever Harry Potter graduated,
Right. And I think if you have young children, young kids, you can read the first three books to them over and over just fine. And then when they get older, you go, okay, here's the next part.
Oh yeah.
So we also have um, a third story going on here. Third main story is that Smiley Bone has found a cub, a rat creature cub. I don't know if it's in this book, but later he names it Bartleby. And he keeps trying to take care of it, and Phony's like, you can't take care of a he's a these are wild animals, you cannot take care of that creature. um and they have
I
to hide it from Thorn and all this stuff. And
I so this storyline did. I've decided who I want to play Smiley Bone in the animated whatever.
okay,
This is a Zach Galifianakis character through and through. Because like even him wanting to take like him taking care of like the little cub. I mean that's straight out of The Hangover. Whenever he decides to take care of when he decides to take care of the baby that they found in their apartment, and
so
he
add it
names
to
it
the
Carl.
list. I haven't seen The Hangover. Go ahead and add it to the list.
Ah!
um but yeah, yeah, so this is Dragon Slayer we're talking about here, so if I throw something on the screen. uh
Mm,
but yeah, so at the end of this, uh which I think the best part of this volume is the ending. uh
mhm.
Phony discovers that the townspeople are preparing for a picnic and holding out on him. They're not giving him all the food and treasure because he's the Dragon Slayer. How can he do a job if he doesn't have all the food and the treasure? And he needs the treasure because dragons like treasure, so he's going to set a trap for it. So finally, the townspeople get sick of him, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go. We're gonna follow you up into the mountains. We want to see you kill a dragon." So he takes all the treasure up there, and he sets like this really obvious trap. And his plan is, during nightfall, just take all the treasure and run. And he can't find his. The other two bone cousins have left with Bartleby to go take him back to his family, to the other rat creatures. So Ted the Bug shows up, and he he hears that Phony is looking for the red dragon, so he goes against the red dragon, and the red dragon just goes and gets in the trap. And he's like, "This is what you wanted, right?" And so Phony is freaking out. The people are demanding that Phony kill the red dragon, and this starts getting serious because they like tape the dragon's mouth shut and stuff, and they're actually about to kill him and stuff. And so then the rat creatures attack, and then Thorn and the Stone Eaters show up, and there's like a big fight, and they set the dragon free, and the dragon chases the rat creatures off. And then they look back in the distance, and the town is on fire, and the rat creatures have invaded. So I think that's a pretty close to what happened in the book, if I recall.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did you think of the Dragon Slayer?
I liked it. Like I said, in general, in in general, this is uh, in stories like this. Whenever it starts to get like darker, I become very hesitant because I'm afraid of it going like grim dark because I still need it to be funny. And I think that is where a character like Smiley is very important because you can't go grim dark with a character like Smiley.
Right.
And so I liked it, like I said, just on the whole. And I read these all together, so I kind of have trouble. I actually have the Wikipedia pulled up so that way I know where one begins and one ends.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my head they're all the same because I read them all at once.
I think these three volumes all have a different feel.
They
Well,
do,
yeah. So
they do. I'm just like it's like I said, I just read them together, and so like Dragon Slayer has a lot of like you know majority dragon stuff in it. Uh, but even then, like yeah, I still get them kind of mixed up. So
yeah, yeah.
um,
So anytime Phony and Lucius are together, I think it's funny.
Yeah, yeah, oh,
The
definitely.
the townspeople get on my nerves sometimes because they're so dumb.
You,
They're
kn- you
gullible.
you know what I like about that though
Yeah,
is this. I mean, it reminds me of Parks and Recreation. You know, with you ever see Parks and Rec?
just a couple episodes. I
Oh,
couldn't get
okay,
into it, but
okay,
I heard that
gotcha.
season one is trash and it gets better. So,
That is true. That is true. Well, so my mom's favorite parts of Parks and Recreation are whenever they do like town hall meeting episodes
mhm,
where like they all just have to sit there and listen to the complaints of the citizens of Pawnee.
mhm.
And it's really stupid stuff. Like my mom's favorite is there's this old lady who walks up to there is like, yes, I found a turkey sandwich in one of your parks and I wanted to know why it didn't have mayonnaise on it. Uh, there's this one that's like there's my dad's favorite is whenever a lady goes up and says, yes, there's a sign in your parks that says do not drink the sprinkler water, so I made some tea with it and now I have an infection."
The first one's funny about the sandwich because you're like, it's gonna be why are you leaving sandwiches here? It's no, it's why is there no mayo?
Yeah, yeah, it's great. um, that you know what that's what it is. So Bone kind of, if I were to pitch someone Bone, I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. You remember Ed, Ed and Eddie? Okay, so Ed, Ed and Eddie are in it, but they're three Bone characters, okay? Because obviously, Phony is Eddie and Smiley is Ed. Phone Bone kind of being Double D, you know, more the heroic part than the actual being the book smart guy. Not to say that he's not like book smart or smart at all, but like that one's just more of the reach. So imagine Ed, Ed and Eddie and Pawnee, Indiana from Parks and Recreation, and they're trying to defend Pawnee from Smaug from Lord of the Rings.
And I described it as Mickey Donald and Goofy, or maybe Mickey Goofy and Scrooge, or something like that. But so yeah, it's um
I
yeah
mean,
I
the Eddie phony bone thing. I
mm,
mean, I think that's a 1-to-1 comparison because all they're doing is just trying to scam people.
right. Um, overall, I really like this volume. Uh, it's the next volume I have issues with. So
So yes,
so I'll go ahead and switch to Rockjaw.
this felt different from the rest of them.
Yeah, it's like a side story. It almost felt like a Disney movie. Like, hey, let's meet all these cute little animals that are orphans, and there's a big cat we gotta avoid. And yeah, it's not. It's probably the weakest of the 9 books. I think. I think Rockjaw is not a terrible character. Rockjaw is the giant cat that lives on this mountain. Um, and you kind of don't know whose side he's on. He doesn't like anybody. Basically, he's on his own side. And some of the stuff happening on the mountain is really happening. Some of it's hallucinations. So that also makes the story kind of weird. Um, yeah, it's basically we're trying to get Bartleby to the other rat creatures, and there's a lot of fighting about how to do that. And then the two rat creatures are in trouble because of King Duck end up teaming up with them for a little while. And at the end, Bartleby goes to live with the rat creatures. The end. It's not. It is like I said. It's the weakest of the 9 books. I think.
This felt like uh and don't get me wrong, I like Merry and Pippin. Um but kind of feels like their side story.
Yeah. You could you could almost skip this book and not lose anything.
I do have a question. I can't remember if they ever explain it. Um but the Bones mispronounce his name as
Mm-hmm.
Rockjaw.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever go over the actual pronunciation?
I think it's Rockjaw. So, but they just say rock jaw, But it's
Okay.
yeah, it's ROCJA, I think is what it is or something.
Okay.
Um,
Because I was like, well, I think there's like a Q and it's like
oh,
ROQU.
maybe,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and so I was like, is it Rukja or is it
maybe,
rookie Ja? I was like, so I I I think that the rock jaw mispronunciation would have come off funnier if I knew how to pronounce it myself.
sure, yeah. Um, but yeah, this is a lot of cute little animals, and it's fine, but it's very different from the other Bone books, and it's almost like how last volume was starting to get dark. This one goes in the opposite direction. It's like, oh, we're going back to kid land. This is
Mhm.
this is very much for kids volume. Like this would be one safe
Uh,
to read for your little kids, probably.
I do think that it's funny that they go over the fact that I think it was Rockjaw that actually said it. Um, that the hooded one fears the one who bears the star,
Yes,
and that's phony.
yes, and that all gets played out in volume 6. So yeah, they've been setting this up for a while that the hood one is after phony for some reason. They keep saying the one who bears the star, bring him to me,
Well, I mean,
and
but it's I think it's the funniest thing because like just but before we get to volume 6, it's like he's the one you're scared of.
right, right. The most harmless of the three, I would
Yeah.
say. Uh, the Dragon Slayer, the Dragon
Yeah.
Slayer. He's
Yeah.
he's the scary one. So if you had little kids, this one's fine to read to your little kids, I think, compared to where it goes in the next
Hmm.
volume. So, uh, yeah, let's move on to the next part. I don't think I have it pulled up just yet. So hold on one second. This one is Old Man's Cave, not Old Man's Care. I can't talk or I can't
O-
type.
Old man's care, that also known as hospice.
Right. Uh, so this is part 6. This is kind of your Empire Strikes Back moment of the series.
Yeah, which is funny because I also thought Dragon Slayer kind of had that. Whenever they turn around and like the town's on fire because of the
Yeah,
rats.
right, right. Uh, so this one we finally. I was going to mention this in part 5. The biggest problem with part 5 is Phony is not in it, and I think it hurts the book with Phony not being in the actual old Rockjaw
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, you know what's the weirdest thing is like I kind of expected like I I don't know what I expected. I guess I expected Phone Bone to be like the main character, like the hero, and he is. But it's almost like a Jon Snow situation where we get like a little bit of him every episode, but we go back to like the other characters just as often, if not more. If that makes sense.
That's how we need to start selling this series. Game of Thrones for kids.
I
Bone.
mean, I mean, kind of. If we do get that animated adaptation, I think that's what they should go for. Honestly, um,
Game of Thrones that you could watch with your parents.
I mean, think about. I just got that. But think about this. Like, do you remember how they sold Breath of the Wild whenever it first came out? Uh,
Uh,
Skyrim for Nintendo, or
oh, okay. Yeah.
Nintendo Skyrim.
Mhm.
And so you could probably do the same thing with this, where you sell it as, children's Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, this one is a lot of the good guys gathering their forces at Old Man's Cave, and Thorn is reunited with Smiley and Phony Bone, and she has been having these dreams that are conflicting, where the hooded one is posing as grandma and calling, trying to lure her over, touch my hand, and then the actual grandma is telling her not to. And so she doesn't know who to trust because she keeps seeing two different grandmas in her dreams, and she doesn't know which one's the good one or the evil one. So she does not want to go to Old Man's Cave. And so she just says, you know what, I'm just going to kill the hooded one. I'm done with this. So she armors up, and the bones are going to go with her, Smiley and Phony. What else? So the Stick Eaters, they're like an ancient order of warriors. They're there with Grandma Ben. The rat creatures are entering the valley, so Lucius takes a group of soldiers, or townspeople really, to go fight the rat creatures, and he gets lured by the hooded one, who appears as Briar, who is Rose's sister, who's supposed to be dead. And it's kind of hinted that Lucius and Briar had a thing going on at one point or something. And and the other thing is Thorn is like, I don't trust Grandma because she said the nursemaid betrayed us. We don't have a nurse. We didn't have a nursemaid. So I don't know if she's lying. So we're starting to find out that it appears to be that Briar is the one who betrayed the family.
Okay.
And
So I took that at face value. You keep saying appeared.
which part? Well, I'm sorry. I'm just
Oh,
describing.
that the hooded one is the sister.
The hooded one is the sister. She definitely is the sister. If
Okay,
I'm misspeaking, I'm just
okay. Gotcha.
yeah. She definitely is Briar.
Okay. You were saying it vaguely as if like there was a twist coming up in the next volume.
No. I was about to reveal, and the hooded one is Briar. But yes, the hooded one is Briar.
Oh, okay.
I was building up suspense, but that's all right. Yeah. So because Lucius got distracted, townspeople, basically got slaughtered by the rat creatures, and so it's Grandma Ben, right? Yeah, she
Yeah.
goes to help Lucius. Lucius says, leave me behind. So she goes to confront the hooded one. The bones are there. Thorn gets captured. I think King Doc captures her, if I recall. Because King Doc is fighting everybody. That's right. And so we find out why the hooded one is afraid of Phony. And the hooded one has now captured Phony because he snuck away. And yeah, all the books are running together in my head, so I'm trying to remember which one we're on. But the hooded one has captured Phony, and basically what they are looking for is a vessel for the Lord of Locust. Briar is kind of the vessel right now, but she's weak because she got cut in half way back when the attack on the royal family happened. So the locusts have been kind of animating her body, and she thinks that the vessel should be Phony Bone because he's the powerful one. He's the omen that I keep seeing, the one with the star on his chest. And the Lord of Locust is like, no, it's Thorn. She's the one that's got the connection to dreaming. That's the one I want. And so we find out that the reason, and they've been telling you this since the first issue, basically. there was a.
I'm looking for a picture of the.
Okay.
I'm
I'll start setting it up, and you can find the picture. There was a picnic in Boneville, and Phony was running for mayor, and he was cheap, and so he was like tart pie or something he gave everybody that gave everybody diarrhea. And he made a giant inflatable balloon of himself.
I can't find it. Go ahead.
And it cut loose and started chasing the townspeople into the river. So they've all got diarrhea. They're all falling into the river. And it was chaos. Well, Smiley was supposed to let the air out of the balloon, and Smiley thought Phony was doing it. Phony thought Smiley was doing it, and the balloon floated away. Well, that is the omen that the hooded one saw in the sky. It has a sash across it that says, "Phony Bone is going to get you." And it's supposed to say, "Phony Bone is going to get your vote," but it got cut off. So this whole time,
And he's got a very, very fierce expression,
yeah, his head's reaching out. It's very
like
grim.
like like it like it. I don't think Phony could be friendly if he tried. I think he's just got resting bee face.
Yeah, yeah, and they're kind of humanizing him a little bit in this volume because we get more of their backstory. Phony says, "Hey, we were orphans, and the only way we survived was through his schemes. He schemes to keep us safe. That's how we've survived on the streets, was through his schemes."
Hmm.
And so yeah, so you of course Phony is not the vessel.
Yeah.
And the locusts go flying out of the hooded one and cover Thorn, and then Bone or Phone Bone hits her with the coin that the dragon gave him, and it makes all the locusts explode and fly off of her. And so at the end, they escape, and then Thorn pulls down her hood over her face like she's the hooded one now. And that's how the volume ends. So it's like they're escaping. Good. We want. Oh, wait. Maybe they haven't escaped. Maybe things are about to get really bad. So, what did you think of Old Man's Cave?
I think this one was probably my favorite of the three.
Mm-hmm.
So I did say that there's a 1-to-1 comparison between Eddie from Ed and Eddie and Phony. That is true up until this one. I have a question. I don't know if they ever established. Do they establish who's the eldest brother?
I think it's Phony.
Okay.
Well, they're cousins. They're
Well,
not.
cousin.
They're not brothers.
Right.
They're cousins.
Right. But the eldest out of all of them. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, that would make sense as to why he feels the need to take care of them. Which obviously Eddie doesn't scam to survive. Eddie scams to get jawbreakers. So I don't know. It definitely humanizes him more. It's one of those things, and I think you said this in the first third of the series, where you said that eventually, I think you said eventually Phony will become my favorite character or something like that. You said
probably, yeah.
Yeah, you said something similar to that. One thing that I did notice, do we know Grandma Ben, like, is that her name? Like, so
it's Rose. Rose is her name.
okay. Because I mean, a briar is like a prickly bush, and thorn is a thorn, and so I was like, do we know? Does she have a different name?
So now that you know the hooded one is Briar, you can read the Rose miniseries now if you want.
Okay.
It is the kind of the backstory, not of the night that they that she betrayed them, but it's like a story about them as children. It is not a funny story. It's not drawn by Jeff Smith. It's a totally. I don't think he draws it. I can't remember. But
He
it's
doesn't. I just looked it up.
Yeah, it is. It's a dark story, but if you want to know the backstory, I think the Red Dragon is in it. It's been a long time since I've read it.
Is this something that like we would benefit from, like reading and discussing this and then going into Harvest, or do you just want to go into Harvest?
Let's make that decision off air. Let me read about Rose again because, like I said, it's been 20 years since I've read it.
Okay.
So I'm vaguely recalling stuff. I just remember it's not a happy story, but you learn more about why Briar got corrupted. So,
Okay.
um, but yeah, this I love the. I think the hooded one is a great villain. I and it's you're kind of seeing some Star Wars stuff seeping into here. You know,
Oh, definitely.
Grandma is Ben, and this is she's your Darth Vader. You know, the Briar's
I
your Darth Vader, and this the Lord Locust is like your Emperor.
I gotta be honest. That never like Ben. That I mean, that never entered my because whenever she's Grandma Ben, for some reason I think of Uncle Ben.
Hmm.
Uh, so I didn't even think about Ben Kenobi, but that makes way more sense.
Yeah. So this is where we end part two. I really don't remember part three that well. So this will be fun going into this. I kind of remember the ending a little bit, but it's kind of a blur.
So, how long has it been since you've read and any of this?
Probably the early 2000s is when I first read it. And then I slowly got the volumes over the year where, you know, I'd pick them up at half price books, whatever. And then every once in a while, I'd start to try to read it and I'd get sidetracked. So I usually get stuck around the first three volumes every time. So I haven't actually finished it again in a while. So this will be fun to go back. I remember the final issue is kind of weird. So, and I remember it gets really dark. So that's all I remember. So, um, and it's kind of again, it's a tonal change because their town's been destroyed. So there's a different setting in the last three books, and it's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff about the dreaming and reality crashing into each other and stuff. So we'll
You
get
know
there.
what? I didn't even realize, but like with the, I'm almost kind of getting like some Scott Pilgrim vibes from this too, and I think it has more to do with the fact that I think this and Scott Pilgrim are inspired by similar things.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just noticed that is very Scott Pilgrim like too. Which makes me. You remember Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, the beat 'em up?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got
Ah,
that.
that needs to
Yeah.
be a bone beat 'em up.
Bone beat 'em up. Maybe. I'm trying to
I
think what that would be like because I don't picture Phone Bone as a fighter, but he does every once in a while. It'd be more like Escape from the Rat Creatures type game where you're constantly running and then there's a
Mhm.
boss battle or something.
Yeah, yeah, and this is coming from someone who said that they're sick of everyone making a beat 'em
Eat
up.
'em up. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I did look up. Well, I didn't look it up. Like I was just looking for like a cool picture of the hooded one. And like on there was like a Reddit thing that's like a bone cast, and like the other characters are not as interesting. Because it's like, oh, Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett,
Yeah.
but the main three, I think this is a great cast. So Phone Bone, Ben Schwartz.
Okay. Is he the one that does Sonic or is that
Yes.
okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Smiley Bone is Jack McBrayer. Jack McBrayer. You ever see 30 Rock?
I know who you're talking about. The one
Uh,
that he's a Fix It Felix, right?
he is. Yeah, he is Fix It Felix. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Phony Bone, Bradley Cooper, which ironically is Hangover adjacent because he's also in the Hangover.
All right.
um, but I love that because now I'm gonna read Phony with a Rocket Raccoon voice.
And here's your Lucius, Brendan Gleeson as Lucius. He was Bad Eye Moody. He's been in the
Oh
Paddington
yeah,
movies. Um, yeah, he's great. He would be a
I,
great Lucius.
I gotta be honest. I didn't recognize him without the eyeball.
Yeah, without the giant eyeball. Yeah.
Oh man, I you know what? I feel like we could get speaking of Mad Eye Moody because um, technically David Tennant has also played Mad Eye Moody. Uh,
Yeah.
we could probably get him in here somewhere.
Who
Oh,
was the read off the cast again? You said it was Ben Schwartz and who else? Oh,
Jack
you said yeah, Jack, and then who was the third one?
Bradley Cooper.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
And then this would be interesting. So imagine like before we know who the hooded one is, they have like a male voice, um, and that is David Tennant. And then whenever the hood comes off, then it's whoever.
I This is gonna be a weird choice. I kind of picture Scarlett Johansson as the hooded one. Like when you
Mhm.
show like the flashbacks, she would be like the princess, and
Yeah.
then you could ugly her up or age her up for the the hooded one.
Well, I'm still thinking animation for
Oh
everything.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I could definitely see that. And yeah, so you know what? We could. Scarlett Johansson, she's got a deep enough voice that they could probably just augment her voice. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
because like I think it's interesting, uh, the idea of thinking that the hooded one is a guy just because that's your preconceived notion of villainy.
Hmm.
And then, oh my god, it's the sister.
And
That's
they do a really good job of not mentioning the sister until you start getting close to the revelation. They start bringing
mm,
up that there's and you
mm,
start seeing the visions that, oh, is this a girl? What is this? And
yeah,
then it starts coming out. So
yeah. And it's one of those things where like it's not a twist. It is a reveal,
mhm.
which reveals are more rewarding. Um, it it's like this isn't a great example because it's not done well in Arkham Knight, but the Arkham Knight shows up, and then all of a sudden we're getting flashbacks to Jason Todd.
Ye-
uh,
yeah, I think it works well here because
yeah, it do.
why didn't Grandma Ben bring up Briar? Well, why would you bring up? Oh, by the way, my sister went crazy and killed the whole family. You're
Mhm.
not going to tell your granddaughter that,
Yeah.
Um, and then they both think that Lucius and Rose think that Briar's dead because I saw her last time I saw her, she was cut in half. So it's not like I feel like part of the problems with episode 3. Well, because Obi-Wan thinks Anakin is dead, but he came back as Darth Vader. I guess that, but then other people know that it's Anakin. I don't know. Anyhow,
Well, I mean, like in Return of the Jedi, he says, "I was telling a truth from a certain point of view."
right, right. So yeah, there's a lot of things he's borrowing from here, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and stuff, but it works. I really enjoyed this, and looking forward to
Yeah.
revisiting the last parts.
You
So
know what? You know what's interesting? I've been making Ed and Eddie comparisons the entire show. I just looked this up just on a whim. But Jeff Smith and Danny Anatucci have the same birthday.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, they were different years, but they were both born on February 27th. um, but yeah, so yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I hope it doesn't. If it does, it does. But I hope it doesn't come down to I like the first three the most. But it may end up being that. Um,
And it may happen. I'm trying to remember volume 789. It's like I said, it's a blur. Um, and that's not saying the last 3 volumes are bad at all, but
hmm.
um,
and
the
then like I said, like you can. It'll be your call because you're more familiar with it, and you can just let me know by like middle of the week if
let's go
we
ahead and
need.
throw it in there. We're going to throw Rose. We'll
Okay,
do Rose and the final 3 books.
okay,
And I think it's safe to read Rose before you read the other ones.
okay.
Um, yeah, so we'll go ahead and do that. I just looked it up because I was curious. Bone started in 1991. Ed and Eddie started in 1999. So
Okay.
you know whether Ed
Yeah.
and Eddie was influenced by Bone, I don't know, but it's interesting.
You know what it is? I think it's just the classic setup. Because there's actually an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I've always said that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is like the kids who grew up watching Ed and Eddie. Now we watch It's Always Sunny. Um, because it's kind of the same setup. It's a gang that's always trying to scam, and they're not necessarily likable, but it's funny to watch them. um, and there's an episode where they talk about how there he references the Ghostbusters and the A Team, but how there are inherent roles that everyone plays in their group. So Dennis is the looks, Mac is the brains, Charlie's the wild card, Frank is the muscle, and D is the useless chick. And so with Ed and Eddie, you've got the brains. Um, Ed's uh, the wild card, and Eddie is the brains in the sense that he's the leader, but Double D is the brains in the sense that he's the smart one. But also all of the girls like have a crush on him, so he's kind of the looks there. So I'm maybe there's not like an inherent like causation between Bone and Ed and Eddie, but there definitely is a correlation with the idea that uh, teams and ensemble casts inherently have roles that they play.
Mm-hmm. So we'll end with this. I'm on the Bone Wikipedia page, and it said Jess Smith was inspired by Carl Barks' character Scrooge McDuck.
Okay,
He
okay.
said that he always wanted Uncle Scrooge to go on a longer adventure. I thought, man, if you could just get a comic book of that quality, the length of, say, War and Peace or the Odyssey or something like that, would be something I would love to read. And even as a kid, I looked everywhere for that book, that Uncle Scrooge story that was 1,100 pages long.
That's great. Well,
Yeah.
if that's the case, and so obviously Phony is Uncle Scrooge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, would you compare Phone Bone to Donald, and then Smiley is the kids? Could you see that? Or...
Maybe Smiley's almost like a Launchpad. I know Launchpad wasn't in the original Uncle Scrooge comics.
But I mean, I
Yeah,
could
but
see
I
that
could see,
though.
I could see. Yeah, he's borrowing from a couple of different things. Peanuts from
Yeah, of course.
Snoopy and Pogo, the old Pogo comics from the 50s and 60s or whatever.
Pogo. I'm not familiar.
Pogo used to be very popular. It's not popular now, but just
Um.
Pogo comic strips.
Oh, you know what? I think that I've seen this at like Mama's or something like that. Like she had like a sticker of it or something.
Yeah, so once upon a time, there's a lot of, if you go back to the early days of comic strips, there are a lot of forgotten great characters from that era that at the time were humongously popular and have just kind of been lost to the time.
You know what I want to look into now, and this actually might be a show.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of want to look into the Eisner Awards because I don't think I've ever actually looked at them. And like I actually just found out who Will Eisner was like 2 months ago. Because
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, because like I just had I had an, okay. I like the movie version of The Spirit. I don't know why. I think it's fun. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, let's take a look at the let's say this is based on off of a comic book. What is it? And so I was like, oh, it's not a comic book; it's a comic strip. Who wrote this? Will Eisner. Is that the Eisner Awards? Will Eisner. And so like just 2 months ago, I found out all about
Is this
this.
the Oscar? Is this
Is this the Oscar? Is is that John Academy Awards?
is that John Noble, founder of the Nobel Prize? What? Um, yeah, yeah, that'd be cool to. I think it'd be fun, and it's going to depend on how what we can get our hands on. Really exploring some of these independent comics that people don't know about, like The Spirit or other things, and or some of these classic comic strips. I think would be really cool. So.
Okay, I just have the Eisner categories pulled up, and I'm like, this is like best best one shot. That's
Hmm.
such a cool idea for a category.
Hmm.
Best short story, best limited, new series, continuing series, anthology. I mean, it's interesting. I've not. This is not something that I'm familiar with. I don't know, let's see who won best writer for the most recent one, which is 2023. Uh, we have Grace Ellis, Tom King, Mark Russell, Chip Zdarsky, and the winner, James Tinian the Fourth. Okay.
Cool. Well, we will add that to the maybe list. One of the things I also thought about doing is maybe picking like a list of Academy Award winners, like best pictures, like neither of us have seen for like
Hmm.
like the 40s and 50s and stuff, and just see if we really think they're best pictures or if that was the only thing out that year. So
Oh, you know what? You know what I've always found interesting is like the things that were nominated for Best Picture that stand the test of time, and you go back and it turns out that they lost to something you never heard of.
yeah, like It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right, so next week we are coming up on, is it Batman Day? Is it what's called? I believe.
Batman Day. Yep.
Yeah. So because Caleb hates me, he's gonna make me watch the Batman, which
No,
I
it's
have never seen.
no, it's here's this is the tombstone. You know, this is I love this, and I want you to experience it, and then you're gonna come back and tell me that it's overrated.
All right, we'll see. I really like the Riddler, and I don't know if I like what they've done this movie. I've never seen the movie though, so we'll see. Um, and Pattinson, I'm hit or miss on. Sometimes I like him, sometimes I don't. So I'll see. I'll come back and we'll talk about this. And
You know, I have one question. So,
mhm.
how much do you know about Pattinson's performance in this movie?
I know stuff I can't say on air, and I know not a whole lot. I
Okay,
really don't. So
what if I told you that the mask is on for 99% of this movie?
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, All right, yeah, we'll report back next week. What I think of this, maybe I'll watch the Joker. Also, I've never seen that, so
Oh, okay.
maybe
Okay.
we'll do like a double feature, Batman and Joker.
Yeah, definitely. I'm down.
So, all right. Until then, I've been Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we'll catch you next time in the Shark Pond.
See ya.